All right, so wanted to cover something real quick from yesterday, and then we're going to get into the documentary next. There was what's your name again, Mrs.
Hart.
Mrs. Court brought up a good point. My thesis statement, we all know what thesis statements are. My thesis statement was that two truths equals a lie, and I showed you, I think, pretty clearly that two truths stacked together can distort things. But I don't think I've wrapped it into a nice package where I went back and explained, well, how is that a lie? All right. First off, you don't have to agree that it's a lie. Okay, I'm trying to, because I think that I've read some philosophy of some people who said that it is. You don't have to believe them though, because there's philosophers on both sides. But the point is that even if you don't believe that two truths coming together is a lie, then if you don't believe that, then you must believe that putting them together creates some very strange things that we need to be aware of. Very, very strange things. I would say untruth. If you don't like the word lie, then you have to say untruth. Here's the truth. Here's what's being presented. So if this is the truth and you're not that, what do we have? Okay?
Untruth.
Yeah, an untruth. Yeah, it's very fuzzy. It's very fuzzy. And we'll get out of this philosophy stuff pretty soon. I know this is still pretty abstract. But I want to tell you about this. I'm going to give you an example from me. I don't want to pick on anyone. But remember, if I'm doing a Mr. Hart's documentary and I show someone taking notes, as soon as I point the camera at the person taking notes, my conscience says something. This isn't accurate, you know? I'm showing someone who's taking notes, but as I lift the camera, I think, I'm up to something, right? I would show the person taking notes. And I'm thinking, as I hold the camera there, should I show someone who's not taking notes? And I think that that's pretty normal. I think that as we do something, we question it. We wonder, am I being honest? Is it a lie? I don't know, but if you point it at someone taking notes and you say to yourself, am I accurately representing myself? And your conscience bothers you a little bit, like, I should show a little bit more wide-angle lens or whatever. There was a Teacher Institute day, room full of teachers. And one teacher was teaching everyone else about Socratic seminars. And they recorded an AP class. If the teacher's trying to teach how Socratic seminars work in a circle, can you see how an alarm bell goes off? If you have highly, highly gifted students in a class and that's what you show as a successful Socratic seminar, right? As teachers, we all thought to ourselves, well, that's cool that they can do a Socratic, but can they do that in a class with struggling learners? You know what I mean? So when we say to ourselves it's okay, but is it honest? Is it the truth? Another example from yesterday. And Jose, this is to you too, because you're saying, well, isn't what I'm saying a lie then too? Because if I take a truth and I take a truth, aren't I also subject to what I'm teaching you? The answer is yes. So if I take the truth that $5 can fix malaria, or that this is the cost that it takes to fix malaria, and I put those two facts together, as soon as I do that for you, my conscience bothers me. Because it's not that simple, is it? Can I get does it cost $5 to send that to sub-Saharan Africa? No. So it's true that the medicine costs $5, but how do I get that to them? So as soon as I tell you a simple truth like that, I have to think to myself, am I being earnest or not? And even if I say 3 facts now, it's $5 to fix malaria. I have to ship it though. Well, can I just ship it to a P.O. box and then it fixes itself? No, someone who has a salary has to pick that up and carry it to a place and store it in an air-conditioned facility that doesn't have the sub-Saharan heat on it, ruining the medicine. The point is that no matter how many times I stack the information, I'm always leaving out something very important. The fact is, though, yeah, we think we decided yesterday that you could save 60 lives with $300. Although that's not true, I guess we have to update that for all the different costs and such to get that medicine where it belongs. We can still save many, many human lives, and that's the point, okay? We'll skip this part. All right. Last thing then is, this is a disclaimer about the editing unit. We're going to be dealing with the manipulation of the truth. And if you're a bad person, learning about this will make you worse. If you're a good person, this information will help you protect yourself from manipulation. Have I ever given you no, I don't think I've talked to you guys about pickpockets before, have I? Okay. If I train you how to protect yourself from being from being pickpocketed, if I tell you step by step how someone can pickpocket you, you will be protected from pickpockets, but you'll also have a step-by-step guide on how to pickpocket someone. That's all. That knowledge is a very strange beast. So here's just a real quick mini example. If I shove you on your shoulder, your brain, all of its energy goes to your shoulder and considers it, and you lose all feeling in your waist. So someone's always going to jump your shoulder first or bump against you before they pull out of your pocket, and they can be rough with it too. They don't have to bump and be dainty with it. They can bump and just grab it as hard as they want. And we won't know, right? So there's a couple steps that you can make this even more refined, but you can see what I'm talking about. You're walking through Union Station and someone bumps your shoulder, check your pockets right away, guys, or girls, hold your purse tighter. But in so doing, I'm training you how to pickpocket people. So in the editing unit, we're dealing very much with the presentation of truth, and the good people will learn, I'm being manipulated. This person's up to something. But the bad people will think to themselves, oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. And we're not talking about cameras. We're not talking about you being a director. We're talking about you walking down the hallway with your friends. The manipulation of truth matters in this class. It also matters outside. All right, if you could grab out your notes. And I want to tell you why we're watching this documentary. If we really wanted to get very detailed about how to pickpocket someone or how to protect yourself from being pickpocketed, some basic vocabulary would have to be known. Like what the different footwork movements are, or what the different types of smash and grab is to grab the wall when someone's not looking. How do you deal with different types of purses? We'd have to talk about all the different intricacies and have vocab words for them. So likewise, with this documentary, I just want you to basically, learn the vernacular, the jargon, the vocabulary. How do we describe, if you take a clip 1 and a clip 2, if you put it together like this, what's it called? If you take a clip here and a clip here and you reverse them and put them together, what's it called? I just want us to have a basic vernacular or vocab, most of which you can pick up without writing down. I will pause the parts that I think we need to take a closer look at, and those are more than likely the ones that you'll say, okay, I see a point there, and you'll put it down in your notes. Demetrius, did you have a question?
So, like, her knowledge is twofold. Her knowledge, her information is twofold in regards to the abilities that it instills in you.
Yeah, it was to my mind, it was Plato who first realized this dilemma. The more you learn about the human body, in terms of being a doctor, the more you learn about the human body, the easier it is for you to kill someone. Right? The more you know about, if you're an accountant and you help people with their taxes, the more you know about tax law, the more equipped you are to cheat it. No matter where you go, no matter what knowledge or field you are after, you are both. It's a double-edged sword, just like we said with the manipulation of truth. Yeah, Demetrius?
So for example, an excellent assassin can be an excellent
bodyguard, right?
Doctor.
Oh, assassin? Oh, yeah, but
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's no name for a poisoner, right? But if you're a specialist in alleviating the symptoms of poison, you're the best poisoner too.
Yes.
Plato used the idea of a bank guard. The guy set up to guard the bank is going to be the one who's most likely or most capable of robbing the bank, right? So that's sort of beside the point. The examples of these. Well, you're right, Dimitri. Okay.
And I did not really realize what editing was until I was in the editing room myself.
There's magic to editing. Magic is a discovery of something new that wasn't intended, that works for the movie.
Once you start to realize that film is the sum of editing, then editing is the thing you're always looking at.
Showtime, folks.
I think great editing skill will protect the director from suicide.
First filmmakers simply photographed what interested or amused them. They held a shot until they got bored, or the film ran out.
The fathers of cinema, Edison in the United States and the Lumiere brothers in France, were very pessimistic about the future of cinema. There was probably a worldwide interest in seeing these images move, but once you'd seen somebody playing a joke with a hose, why pay money to see something that you can see for real out in the street? In fact, Auguste Lumiere went as far as to say that cinema was an invention without a future.
Okay, what you have to understand is that there's a difference between the invention of videoing and the invention of editing. When before editing was invented, it was an invention. Before it was invented, all you had was a camera pointed in one direction. You saw that. It's just one person, just over and over again. No cut scene. And so you understand where that came from. This is the way sort of that old cameras used to work, is they'd have tape, literal tape. And when they started rolling, action meant that this action bolt starts spinning, and and it would come out of the machine, and when they were ready, they'd say cut, and it would literally cut. And so you'd have a shot of however long you had it for, and before editing was invented, this was just a long string, and then they had the string in their hand. It seems really strange to us now, but the idea of doing this and changing the order, taking this part, ripping it out, it wasn't thought of. And the reason that they're saying that listen, editing is so big, it's such a big factor, that before editing was invented, you'd think people would be fascinated, like, oh my gosh, this is the new thing. No, people saw it. That's pretty cool. Now let's go back to the theater. Because why would you watch something grainy like this if you could see high definition out of your eyes in a theater? So editing made film what you think of today.
But Edwin Porter, one of Thomas Edison's employees, proved him wrong. Porter discovered that cutting separate shots together could create a story.
Edwin S. Porter really was the one with Life of American Fireman, I think, that started intercutting and creating an emotional impact in the audience by intercutting two shots that are not related to each other. One scene is going on in one place, basically the firemen rushing to a fire with their horse-drawn wagons, and the other scene is the fire, miles away. You intercut the two, and you understand psychologically and emotionally that these people's lives are in danger, and these people are coming to rescue them, and you're rooting all of a sudden for that to happen, and you're hoping they save the people.
This is way bigger than it looks at first glance. This is probably the birth of immersion and maybe even manipulation, and I'll show you why, okay? I want you to imagine that you're filming something and you can't edit. So your first scene is in a firehouse, and you're showing people the alarm going off and people bustling around and putting their clothes on and getting on the wagon, because this is an old movie. And so you're watching them, okay, but you're thinking to yourself, that's what people do in a firehouse. We're just watching a day in the life. And they get in their wagon and you're following them around, and they go through the street. Cool. They go up to a burning building. I guess we're seeing someone put out a fire. And then they go up the ladder, and then only then do you see the woman in distress. Editing changed everything. And it was very easy. Show the firehouse, then quick, show the woman in distress. Now, go back to the firehouse and take your time. As a matter of fact, slow it down. Because as they're getting ready, now all of a sudden people are like, hurry up, guy, don't you have your system planned out yet? Isn't this your job? And then they get in the truck, or the wagon, and they pull out, and you're like, oh my gosh, that thing goes so slow. Someone walks across the street, and you're like, get out of the way, man. There's a fire. It changed. It's the same footage. There's just one little difference. You show the woman in distress first, and then all of a sudden, it's psychologically riveting is the word. We use the word immersion. This was perhaps, it's hard to pin down, but it's perhaps the first time that film could pull your brain out and put it on the screen. You're now living the life of a fireman. And editing did that. So sans editing, meaning like without the use of editing, film wouldn't be a thing. It wouldn't be something that we would watch, or with any of the same interest that we have today.
I often think about what it must have been like to be there to create the art form as it was happening, and say, why don't we try this? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, we do it in the editing room now. We cut to something and say, oh, that doesn't work. Well, imagine what they must have said in 1904.
The Great Train Robbery was Porter's next film. That's when you really begin to see the possibilities. And I'm not saying this because I'm an editor, but the invention of editing is the thing that allowed film to take off. It's the equivalent of the invention of flight. Both human-powered flight and motion picture editing were invented in the same year, and they have similar kinds of effects.
The invention of editing gave birth to a new art and a new language. A language that can transport us in the blink of an eye from the vastness of the desert to the mysteries of the human face. can bridge millions of years, connecting the prehistoric past
So cut right here. Next
to an
scene.
imaginary future.
So scene 1, scene 2, glued together.
Editing can slow down time or speed it up. The timing of a cut can startle audiences or amuse them.
Don't think of it all night, trailing after them. I'm in great danger.
The choice and length of
This is an absolute first for me. This is the first year that the women in the class didn't audibly gasp when they saw Jack die and float away. I mean, seriously, I noticed this first hour this year too. People were just, yeah, that's a scene. Going back in the past, I've taught cinema studies for a long time now. It is all, right? I wish that still happened because I have a point here to be made, and maybe I don't know what the answer is. But this little clip, think about what happens to a room that sees just a little clip of a movie they like, and it transports them immediately. Here they're in class, and all of a sudden they're feeling emotion. That proves the point. There's something magical going on here. That whatever we were thinking about stops and our emotion state changes. Our MRI in our brain just starts lighting up completely differently. That's of interest. And the more you look at it, the stranger it gets. I mean, that statement there, that a clip can automatically transfix us, there's meat on the bone there for you to discover. Think, how is that? What if?
shots shape our response to everything we see on the screen.
And editing is why people like movies. Because in the end, wouldn't we like to edit our own lives? I think we would. I think everybody would like to take out the bad parts, take out the slow parts, and look deeper into the good parts.
I started working on what used to be called the upright moviola, which is a editing machine that looks something like a green sewing machine on legs. I switched to computer editing in the mid-90s. The editor has to be, he's sort of the ombudsman for the audience. As an editor, you only see what is on the screen, not what was going on at the time of shooting. And that's how it's going to look to the audience. I make it a principle not to go on the set, not to see the actors out of costume, not to see anything other than the images that come to me from location.
A major Hollywood production shoots almost 200 hours of film. Unspooled, the film would stretch from LA to Vegas.
You don't have to write this down, but this is an important image for you to have in your head. That the tape reel, if we're filming a movie, we don't just go out for 2 hours and go back home and you have your 2-hour film. It's important for you to know that 2 hours is only 1% of the footage that they've gathered. So in order to make a motion picture film of 2 hours, you have to start with approximately 200 hours. And that tape that we pulled out of the dispenser, imagine that going and going and going for a 4-hour drive. 4 hours going at like 75 miles an hour. That's how long the tape was back then during this time. And the equivalent is happening in the digital era too, so huge. And why is that important to us? Because later on we're going to show how with all this footage, if you just take a tiny little piece, you have that problem of the omission, the problem of live omission happening because of a massive amount of shrinking that occurs.
An editor may work for months, even years, crafting this footage into a 2-hour movie. The finished film will contain thousands of shots, each measured in frames of 1/24th of a second.
For a writer, it's a word, all right? For a composer or a musician, it's a note, all right? For an editor and a filmmaker, it's the frames, all right? And you know, the 1 frame off or 2 frames added or 2 frames less is the difference between a sour note and a sweet note. It's the difference between clunky, clumsy crap, all right, and orgasmic rhythm.
Verna Fields made many good contributions to Jaws. We all refer to Verna Fields as Mother Cutter because she was very earthy and very maternal. She cut her films at her house, in her pool house in the San Fernando Valley, and it was a very Hamish kind of work place. The shark didn't work as well or as often as it was supposed to work according to the screenplay.
That's the spot.
We had a contest where Verna would stop the movie all on a frame where she wanted to make the cut, and I would stop it where I wanted to make the cut. And if ever we stopped it on the same frame that had already been marked with a grease pencil X, we knew that was the right frame on certain things where we didn't agree. And all of our disagreements always happened with that darn shark. Verna was always in favor of making less to be more, and I was trying to squeeze that one more, because it took me days to get the one shot. So I'm going back to, I'm on a barge for 2 days trying to get the shark to look real. And the sad fact was the shark would only look real in 36 frames, not 38 frames.
All right, here's Steven Spielberg. If you don't have him in your top 5 directors of American history, you would be laughed out of a room. This guy is in the upper crust. And I'm going to break down what he just said to you. He said, the editor knows more than me about the quality of the shots. That's crazy. And I hope that, please understand that I'm going to have to show you how important editors are first. I have to show you just how much gravity they have on set. And this is one of the ways I want to do that. Here, let me explain what he's saying and give you an example of when I've seen films recorded myself. He's saying that he spent days and days and days on the water, in the sun, in the scorching heat, filming a sequence that was only going to be 10 seconds long. And that's not abnormal. We're talking 4 days for a 10-second sequence. That's not abnormal. So he's had all this time and energy in it, and he needs that work in the film. He needs it. It costs $22 million. That's a lot for 7 seconds. But it cost $1 million to make this shot, and he has all his effort put into it. And what you're going to notice is editors, they don't want to know that. Shut up. I don't want to know how long it took, because if that's going to bias them. They just want to see what it looks like, and they show that 7 seconds, and you know what the power of the editor is? The editor oftentimes says, don't want it. What do you mean, don't want it? Isn't there an image or two that we can, no, it doesn't look realistic. But, no. Steven Spielberg bows to Verna Fields. I guess you're right. And Sturz also just said that too, about how I don't want to know what's happening on set. And just to let you know how normal this is, I've seen several movies being filmed, and one of the crazier